Aloha. Didn't realize that the last video got cut off till I just listened to it now. And I just wanted to finish what this piece of crap tablet or whatever it was cut off, because it was a good amount. I thought it was all the way through, but I guess not. So basically, I left off on the creative intelligence creating a destructive intelligence in order to have a frequency experience that would constantly grow on itself within the experience as a whole. And once it gets to a point of out of balanceness where the illusion starts to overtake the connection, then this is how I'm seeing what biblical stories talk about, like things, cycles starting over, like the floods and stuff like that, shiftings of energy. How I'm seeing it in relation to like the silicon age with those giant silicon trees, and what our relationship was to that energetically, spiritually, psychologically, naturally. The destructive intelligence that has been created within this space, just as people can see today, only so many people are going to be able to process this information or any kind of information if they're not ready for it, if they haven't reached a certain space within themselves. Just like fear, nightmares shut down your dreams. Just as the physical reality shuts down your dreams, you won't access that space anymore. And when you don't access it, it will shift into another reality, another vibration, and reset itself. This is where the forgetting phase comes in, where I'm seeing, or some people ask about, excuse me, some people ask about, why do we suffer from this sort of amnesia, or why is all this information existing and we were born into like a lack of beingness, and how I see it is this: we're born in that reality in order to be the creators of our experience, to have a new flavor, a new color, to create new colors, new sound, new music, new words, new frequencies that will expand the creative intelligence in the most extreme measures in this so-called free will reality, with the balance of having a destructive intelligence illusion. The manipulation of that design by entities who have separated themselves consciously from the creative intelligence for whatever reason has manifested into a collective separation vibration that manifests within the individual self-destruction, weighing down, densifying our bodies, filling our bodies with food, prescription drugs, any kind of weight, from a lack of fullness. We we're so empty, we fill ourselves with the physical reality. And the true emptiness that exists with the fullness of connection to spirit is non-existent anymore. So there's no reason to have an experience anymore. So this is how I relate the reset, the kind of reset shifts that exist. And even then, those timelines don't not exist anymore. They don't disappear. They still exist in some format. But the individual energies who have maintained, who have built up their strength through experiencing these realities over and over and over again through time, through the genetic time codes, the soul code time, the collective time frames. This is where some people say in the New Age community and even outside of it, like it's a gift to actually come here and do this work. If you are in this work of helping people expand, like you, not many people can do that. There's a lot of things, a lot of codes that are involved there, and this is why I harp down so much on the New Age community, is because that code, that gift gets watered down, and a lot of connections, true connections, get left out. A lot of people get left out. A lot of information gets lost in the sauce of the movie reel, the new movie reel, which is just another version of the same old separation program. And it's another way for people to get lost. The separation that happens when we get colonized physically, naturally, psychologically, and spiritually, politically, by a destructive intelligence which says it's for your freedom, it's for your the innovation of the human evolution of your reality, the whatever it is it's calling itself. That once that happens, that's actually like the yeah, it's just like an individual, like parents and kids, like shrink it down to a family. For parents that don't care about their kids, they're only focused on their life or whatever it is. What that does to the energy of the children and what that does to the next generations. Like that has happened. That happens to entire cultures, entire groups, genetic harmonics that don't know who they are, what they are, where they came from, why we have these differences, the beauty of those differences. You don't know who you are. If you don't know who you were, who your parents are, then you don't know who you are. You don't know where you're going or whatever it is. So that emptiness that happens there is filled with whatever kind of junk food that we fill into our realities, whether it's focusing only on the gym, like just being a gym rat forever, just like, oh, I'm just gonna focus on my body. We have to constantly be downloading and moving, shifting energy. And there are so many different ways to do that that are available to us. that we actually lose our genuine connections to each other, our true history, our natural experiences, and replace it with a synthetic version of reality. A synthetic, some kind of pill that makes you love more, be more ecstasy, like, experience ecstasy. Here's a pill. Like, what does that do to relationships? What does that do to like Viagra? Like, what does that do to the subconscious mind of the individuals? What does that do to male and female? What does that do to the actual sacred connection that happens in that space? Like, technology is just like a Viagra for the human experience. You got your smartphone, and it's just like you walking around with a heart on all the time. Fucking yourself. Falling deeper into a separation. For the extreme cases of individuals who live in their phone, who live in technology, who live in politics, who live in the university system, who live as their car, who live as the gym, even to the extremes of people who live as the new age vibrations that are very much manipulated to create another version of separation. It gets a little iffy in between there because people are in a constant state of expansion and change, but there are definite groups that max out, and that's no different than the television. It's just a different antenna. Instead of having cable, you now have a Wi-Fi in a 10% version of your spiritual reality. But until that connection gets expanded to truly all that is, not just the phrase all that is, truly all individuals that is, that be, that are, all versions of reality, will disassemble the destructive intelligence stranglehold on our perceived reality to activate the creative intelligence that exists within all of us, which will send a shockwave into that whole 100th monkey perspective of reality. That those shifts, the upward shifts, as I started the video, I was talking about the downward shifts, where if we don't shift enough within a collective space, within whatever kind of collective time, spiritual clocks, consciousness clocks that exist, if we don't activate that space, and within that time, within a above 50th percentile of reality, then it will reset itself. And each time it resets itself, it resets in order to, it'll expand further. The potential in the next vibration, the next experience, is larger than the previous one because it's starting with what it has expanded to. So that box gets bigger, but you also have the abilities get bigger just when we grow. So if you stop growing, which I mentioned a lot with what happens with the prescription drugs, the psychological prescription drugs within the new age space, just as the like the actual Vicodin and all whatever the other prescription drugs that have people needing something else to experience their reality. Once we stop doing what was never meant for us to do in the first place, then that's when we'll actually be doing what it is we haven't even discovered we can do individually and collectively. That which has not yet been created as the meaning, at the foundation of the meaning for us having this experience right now. We don't just exist just to exist. The fucking purpose. You have a purpose. You have a meaning. It sure as hell ain't watching Housewives of Atlanta and dressing like Snooki and Beyonce and Rihanna and all these other fucking people. That is a channeling of energy that is not your own, which is another version. These are false idols. It's the same thing. False idols. It's like a diet version of that. And the more we get dumbed down, the more we accept as okay. Hence, Donald Trump being able to run for president. Hence, voters. A lot of voters. This is that whole 50th percentile stuff that I was mentioning, that everything is being cataloged energetically. And the more this stuff gets out there, the more like Donald Trump talks, the more he gets out there, the more people have the choice to either challenge their reality and look into their true history, look into something that is beyond what is called normal, the more the actual consciousness will expand. And the more people who don't choose that, they'll go deeper into the boxes, a smaller box, implode within themselves. This is the splitting of worlds I explained before in previous videos in relating to stuff like the Mandela effect and what's happening with transhumanism and even the New Age. Again, I don't know whatever video before, but I said I'm really done. Like, I was really I invested a lot of my energy in previous days, like hoping in my own way that the New Age would wake up, or people in that space would wake up to something more. And it happens individually. There's a potential there. There's a network there. There's a community there that if it were to share information that is of a deeper rooted system, it would send a shockwave of that change that the people who are completely locked into that hopeless state of being within the positive space, the New Age space, it would send a shockwave for that change when people say, "Oh, what is taking so long? Like, where's the Galactic Federation of Light?" But all that stuff. Challenging yourself, processing that fear, stepping more firmly into the rooted system will activate a deeper expansion of the higher chakras. A lot of people are running these chakras, these higher chakras, on bad gas, unleaded fuel, instead of soul fuel. They're using fossil fuels, running the higher chakras, all the chakras, on fossil fuels instead of ether. There's a difference. Yeah, you can drive your third eye around like a old Chevy Nova or something. You can drive. You can get some information. You can even go to the store. You can go to the. you can you can even drive that old Chevy third eye to the store and pick up some conscious information and bring it back home, but it ain't gonna make a fucking difference if you are still using fossil fuels, spiritual fossil fuels. Until we are rooted in the true allness space, in the true all that is, by understanding who and what we are, where we came from, what our purpose is, what our genetic codes are, at least opening up to questioning our reality and asking more of ourselves, seeing more of what connects us, seeing more of our stories, seeing how vibrant we really are, and empowering ourselves and each other instead of distancing ourselves and each other. Until that space starts to happen, then you won't get any like shifts that people are waiting for and all that other kind of stuff. Everything that exists within the new age today, as it is today, is still running on fossil fuels. That's why it's not going anywhere. Because it done that way, it's not designed to go anywhere. That way is designed for profit, which is why the next step for the control grid, the separation program, is going to utilize that. This is why you have Deepak Chopra on Oprah. This is why Oprah has Super Soul Sunday and Masterclass and all that other stuff. If you haven't seen that storyline yet, I did some videos talking about the orchestrated awakening a few months back. But that's how the next so-called next steps, the synthetic next steps, are being sold and prepared. And the only way they're going to sell you some Chevron with Techron throat chakras 50% off at O'Reilly's, and some old busted ass third eyes, secondhand third eyes from the thrift shop, calling itself Goodwill when it's actually soaking people. Because we won't challenge ourselves to go deeper and process what is at the root of a lot of our perspectives, everything. Slowly but surely we're doing it. There's new information all the time. And like I said in the last video, each thought you make is that spark. Each thought is setting a fire that will happen weeks, months, years, whatever, down the road. But those sparks don't get sparked until if we're shut down by fear, or if we're giving our power away to extraterrestrials or Galactic Federations of Light, or President Obama, or Rosario Dawson and Bernie Sanders. What the fuck is that? That is some like garbage fuel. That's an Oprah fuel. It's like the Oprah liquor store. Constant separation. And it won't take much once we start going in further to understand what happened. What happened to the indigenous peoples here, outside of Christopher Columbus, outside of the history books, outside of what's being told, outside of what's normal for the politicians and the professors to be talking about? That's the only reason why people don't challenge that shit, is because what is normal or mainstream, the individuals there who are nothing but puppets for the distraction grid, for the separation program, anchored in that destructive intelligence space that I was talking about earlier and in the last video. That shit goes all the way down to your public education system. Your kindergarten that you're getting ready to send your kids to. That high school that your kids are graduating from right now. That is of a destructive intelligence. They are selling lunchable history, Happy Meal scholasticism, medieval times realities, anchoring you in the Columbian era, nothing else, anchoring you in the Dark Ages, anchoring the kids and the generations and those sparks in the Dark Ages. So whatever spark you think you're making, you're still sparking within a box. If you're still thinking politically, if you're still thinking economically, if you're still thinking in the artificial new age and the orchestrated awakening, and even those destructive sort of like, oh, let's just break everything systems, they all have limits. Just as a destructive intelligence will never overpower the creative intelligence which created it, you won't need to destroy or fight anything that will never have any power over you, unless if you expand your power, empower yourself, your brothers and sisters, your children, your generations, your genetic code, your creative intelligence. Unless you empower, if you energize and empower that space, it would be so vibrant, it would make the destructive intelligence separation grid look silly. That it would make even the idea of fighting that system look silly. It won't even exist anymore. If you are anchored in why, instead of getting stuck in these buts and these hows, how, I don't know, just take it easy, don't overwhelm yourself, and go one thing at a time. Take it each day at a time. And then those micro sparks will eventually catch on to a greater fire that you won't ever be able to turn off, and you will help other people start to spark, and the true roots will start to reveal themselves through information, through connection, through understanding, through understanding, through overstanding all of the storylines, how they connect all at once, instead of getting sucked into one reality and thinking, oh, that's just it. This is the way we are going to do it. How the fuck do we know how something is going to be done if we haven't even expanded our own power to understand what it is that we are actually capable of doing? All the politics, all this revolution talk, all that stuff still exists in a slave mentality. That's not doing anything. The only doingness that's happening on that, and even in the fabricated new age, is that the walking backwards, an expansion of the separation grid as a whole. Why did they chop these noses off all these statues? Why did they hide all these artifacts in the museums and in the bellies of the university system? Why are these storylines existing like this? Because if we truly knew who and what we are, and our true potential, our true power, that power grid would cease to exist. That magic spell would be broken, and we wouldn't be here, stuck in second gear on the conscious freeway, burning fossil fuels, with our physical eyes, and now trying to stick some unleaded fuel, some gas in your third eye. I mean, jumpstart your crown chakra. That shit ain't gonna work. People need total tune-ups everywhere. Tune-ups left and right. Fixing the spark plugs. People need new fan belts. Clear all that smog out of everywhere. Holes in the muffler. Flat tires. Yeah. Once we root back in our true nature, our true origins, that will be outside of a control grid. And it's within each individual, each person, who challenges themselves instead of rationalizing their reality, realizing that you have a purpose, you have a meaning. Everything about you is good to go right now, and it's constantly getting better, especially if you are engaging in your reality consciously instead of looking the other way. Because the separation grid is in a constant state of downloading energies to your subconscious reality. Constantly downgrading your energies subconsciously, your focus. Constantly sending you signals of distraction. Constantly evolving itself to be more believable, to be more engaged in. This is why it's so important to really start to see how this is affecting our children. Once these cartoons, these so-called educational programs that kids are watching on YouTube or wherever, the movies, all this stuff that's focused on the children, that's the most potent subconscious programming out there, period. It's the most heavy-duty, energetic shutting downs of your reality, because they're so open and seeing everybody as one, and knowing that parents are so busy, so locked into the grid itself, and so just trying to provide for their survival of their family, their king and queendom that they've created within this physical reality. So bombarded with that space, they won't really see the actual magic that's involved in these television shows, in the public education system, in the way they are being separated from their dreams and separated from the Most High Spirit. Seeing it all as one individual or one family, the kids are one frequency. The kids are a big chunk of that frequency that is being downgraded largely through the subconscious space, which they create. Yeah, they formalize. We all formalize it, but kids do it more in their dream space. They formalize that subconscious reality, and experience that subconscious reality in their dreams. And that also is reflected within our conscious reality, within our awakened reality. So it's very important to see, recognize what these kids are eating. Like my dinner a lot of the times was like hot fries and a free Sprite, because I was looking up under the cap to try to get a free one, and I would open it in front of the liquor store dude and be like, hey, I got a free one, and and some salami. That was my dinner and my lunch a lot of the times. That was normal for a lot of kids. Top ramen, like that's normal. That's not even food. That's plastic. It's like a negative fire. Negative fossil fuels, like negative fossil fuels. Like you're not growing. You're just not dying fast. You're just dying slower. That's what this reality is based upon. Soak you dry, soak your spirit, soak your energy, so that you will be just enough alive to keep that program running, keep the destructive intelligence grid afloat, and keep the creative intelligence from activating within the individual and collective space. And people fight it. People say, oh, like, I'm just gonna do this. Like, okay. You're always changing. You're always growing. And if at least, like I said before, there's not much that you don't have to do a lot. You don't have to do. A lot of people can't really do anything. Or people who are completely like immobile. The way they engage in consciousness, it matters. And they don't have to, like, some people think that you're doing something. No, don't. No judgments there. Like, no. Each thought is a doingness. Each non-thought is a doingness. If you don't think about and understand the apartheid and the legalities of the Holocaust and slavery, colonialism of today, the separation of spiritual power, the locking down, the enslavement of your soul, that not doing anything is doing something. It's just doing something for the destructive intelligence. Because it's allowing that space to expand as we don't expand ourselves, our own creative intelligence. So that was basically it. I think that's pretty much what I said in the last part of the last video that got cut off. So, yeah, thank you for joining me. And until next time, from all my relations, peace, love, and harmony.